And now I think there's quite a lot of support from physics and work in higher mathematics to suggest that we can map out other dimensions of reality in which spirit beings might possibly exist. That there's our society, as we get more involved in advanced thinking in many different areas of science, you find people becoming more and more open to these ideas.
Yeah, I think that's very promising that the physics, who is hard science, cannot talk to the mystic and to the shaman. And in Asia, you find beautiful explanations already if you read the Abhidhamma or if you read any mythologies. They have a very elaborate system of different states they can name already, and we are actually far behind, you know, so we can maybe study these systems and see how we can map them ourselves. I think Charles Tart is doing it really well.
Yes, and
some other scholars.
The whole field of transpersonal psychology is taking a big interest in this subject. Well, how would you distinguish between the practices of shamanism and those of certain other religions, that, like practices like yoga that works with altered states of consciousness, or Buddhism, or
well, it's different in certain aspects, but it's very similar at its base, and it would be just one state. I think the shaman is at the bottom of the development and is also at the top, because one shaman can go the whole range of different states in his own lifetime, and religions have it a little bit more difficult because they have the dogma, they have their scriptures, and they cannot go too far away from these scriptures.
That seems to be one of the major differences, is that shamanism itself is quite flexible.
Exactly, that's a strength, and this is the survival value of shamanism. Shamans don't have any problems to accommodate any religion, because their system is so wide and their system wouldn't break down, while other religions may have some difficulties and considered pagan rites or whatsoever, though the Catholic Church has exorcism, which is a shamanist ritual. And I talked, for example, with a mufti of Singapore, who is a Muslim and very strict religion, who doesn't tolerate anything else but Allah. And I asked him what he does with all the Momo in his community.
These are the shamans.
These are the shamans, yeah. And he said, well, they're good circumcisers, they're good healers, we don't have enough physicians, and we just don't look in this direction. And you can also compare it with Buddhism, where the Buddha was asked about spirit beliefs and other rituals, and he simply said, if the people asked for it, it's useful means, you know, so you use it. The shamans don't have any problem. Religions may have to open up a little bit, because the shamans are not against religion. That's the point I wanted to make. You know.
And shamans seem to again and again be involved in the practical affairs of the community.
Very much so, which you not always can say about religions, not always. I know some very fine priests, but I didn't want to say that. You know.
Well, in your studies, you've worked with well over 100 shamans.
Yeah, over 30 years, of course.
And the interesting thing to me is that you find them in many large metropolitan modern cities.
No problem at all.
In the United States and throughout the world. And I was fascinated by some of the notions that you've developed that seem to contradict classical ideas that we have, that many of the earlier anthropologists, Mirsha Eliade, for once, had this sort of step-by-step process of how shamans become initiated, how they acquire their abilities. They're often called, for example, wounded healers, because they become ill and then heal themselves. But in your research, you found that to represent only a small percentage.
Yeah, well, I think I have to say a little bit more. You're right, Monsieur Eliade legitimized shamanism, definitely, with his book. But he is a historian of religion, and he used secondary sources. He never did fieldwork, and I think this is the essential point where you should start. You will find very fast, and I did this already with my master thesis, I wrote about a Thai custom, and I wanted to trace it back and all the roots, and I found the custom changed over time. So the same happens with shamanism. You should not look at them like a still photo. It's frozen in time. And shamanism keeps adapting to whatever circumstances require a shaman, because you will find, and this is the important point, that shamans emerge when there's a need. And this is also a very good prerequisite for shamans. If there is a certain need inside the community, emotionally a spiritual need, then shamans will emerge where you least expect them. There are very few shamans who traditionally become shamans, where shamanism is practiced in the family, like in Malaysia, the seventh son of the seventh son, and if the seventh son doesn't want to become a shaman, he has to find a brother to step into his place, otherwise the family will perish. So mostly it is a call of the community needing a personality who has these faculties naturally. There will be also a call from a spirit, and most shamans now are trained by the spirits, they say.
Yes. You make a very interesting distinction that I've enjoyed between shamanistic and shamanic.
Yeah.
Could you amplify on that?
Yeah, I would like to. It's a very important point. I would call shamanic activities only when the person practicing it is a professional shaman, is available 24 hours and for lifetime. And shamanistic would be if a normal individual is using some techniques which are, it's quite legitimate for self-development, self-cultivation. There's nothing wrong with it, like concentration exercises, breathing exercises, shifting attention, you know. Actually, I will use this bowl because I think what shamans do best is, you never should go with a shaman who says you need a treatment for 2 years. He usually shifts your attention, shifts you out of your pattern, your old pattern, and let's say rearranges and balances whatever imbalance you have. And this is a good means to do it, and I just want to use it.
Yes.
Also, I love this bowl, it's from Tibet.
The sound seems to have an effect upon the brain.
Definitely. It entrains your brain, it entrains everybody who hears the sound. It pacifies, it balances, it purifies. And this would be a very good shamanistic technique, which I use in my conferences. If you have 126 people with different backgrounds and different ideas, I mean, the discussion can get very heated, and I only have to use a bowl, which shifts it nicely, and I needn't to say anything. Shamans are working mostly non-verbal.
So the process of tuning in is crucial. And I think when you use the word shamanistic instead of shamanic, the sense is among the viewers watching us right now, a few people will perhaps choose a lifetime career as a shaman, but many people, most, perhaps all people, will naturally, I think, in this day and age, be interested in integrating and learning as much about this ancient culture as is available to them.
Of course, as long as they don't call themselves shaman, I think there's a lot of misuse going on. But I think this technique of tuning in can be used in any conference, and it would be shamanistic. There are breathing techniques which are very important because we all breathe very flatly, and this is also to get connected with your whole body. And this is what the shaman also does. It connects, he connects all the levels, the physical, the emotional, the social, the mental, and the spiritual, you know, by attuning all these levels.
Well, I might mention that in our day and age, shamanism is becoming important, but so are so many things, because never before have we lived in a culture where we have access to all of the world's great religions and pre-religious traditions. And I know that in your own work and in the work of many other people, there's a tendency to try and soak up all of it and to develop new syntheses that involve perhaps vipassana meditation or Reiki healing or shamanism, all sort of in one package.
Well, to soak it all up is a little bit exaggerated. You know, the training takes quite a long time. But I think you should follow your own intuition, and starting with breathing and meditation is a good start.